Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, RingsideNews.com. Only 2 weeks away now until WWE SummerSlam. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding SummerSlam. Got your questions. First one today comes from Tyler Joseph Smith. Could you see a double turn at SummerSlam with the club screwing Seth Rollins out of the Universal title? That is an interesting idea that you propose. A swerve. A lot of fans think that maybe Finn Balor will join up with his former teammates Anderson and Gallows and form the Balor Club or a new version of the club. But that would be an interesting swerve to have Seth Rollins be the new leader of the club and Finn Balor is the one who's on the outs. I would like that. I think I would like to see Seth Rollins as a babyface, but let's face it, WWE already missed that opportunity. So now I feel they might as well keep Rollins a heel for the time being, especially if this feud with Finn Balor is going to be ongoing, which one would think it will be a long-term feud in WWE for several months, maybe through the rest of the year. If that's the case, then that would make Seth Rollins even a stronger heel to have him align himself with Anderson and Gallows, form a new faction, and you have Finn Balor having to claw and scratch his way to the top and try and capture the title. I like that. If Finn Balor is going to be chasing the title and have an uphill battle, that would be the best way to do it and get the fans behind Finn Balor, who is the new guy on Raw now, and make him the underdog. So I definitely feel that would be a strong storyline to continue the feud between those two. This one comes from Nikki. Was there a slight heelish behavior on Dean Ambrose's part on SmackDown Live? Maybe a turn or just part of his character? I think it was just done to create a more serious atmosphere for that match and generate some real drama between Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. It's definitely a more serious side of Ambrose that we've seen and a more aggressive side from him, which I like. He's the champion. He's on top. He has all these guys coming at him. It makes sense that he's going to be taking things more seriously. No more potted plants and that sort of thing. I like the direction of Dean Ambrose's character. I definitely feel it's the right way to go with him as champion. I think turning him heel would be a mistake, although I think he could pull it off. I think of the two of them, I'd rather see Dolph Ziggler go heel and freshen up his character with a heel turn. I really don't feel Ambrose needs it. And he's already so over with the fans. I feel Ziggler could definitely benefit more from a heel turn than Ambrose. This one comes from Alistair. After the loss against Ziggler, what's next for Bray Wyatt? American Alpha versus Wyatt family for SummerSlam would be great in my opinion. That seems to make the most sense when you look at the potential card for SummerSlam and where everyone fits in. American Alpha could definitely have a worthy team to face if they go up against Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan. I mean, preferably if Luke Harper was able to return, do Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper against American Alpha. But for now, that seems to be the best way to utilize Bray Wyatt. Although, if American Alpha beats them at SummerSlam, I could see fans being upset about that Bray is still not getting his just due in WWE, and he keeps getting pushed down the card. American Alpha definitely needs a strong heel team to go against, and the Wyatts would be that team. I definitely could see that happening at SummerSlam. This one comes from StewartDot. I'm only speculating here, but with Sami Zayn having no clear storyline, could he be entering mid-card hell? At this point, I'm trying to figure out what role Sami Zayn will play at SummerSlam. He came off a huge win at Battleground when he defeated Kevin Owens, but then he lost to Seth Rollins on Raw, and now it's not really clear what direction he's heading in towards SummerSlam. Hopefully they figure something out for him. Only 2 weeks left until SummerSlam, so it's going to be hard to come up with a storyline. I mean, they may just keep him off this pay-per-view since with only 2 weeks left, there's not really enough time to build him up in a storyline. And, I think it would actually be better maybe to keep him off the show than to just throw him into a match completely random with no solid storyline behind it. So time will tell. If they can come up with something, if they can come up with a big opponent for him, then do it. But, I'd rather they wait until they have something really solid for him than to just throw him on the SummerSlam card just because they want to fill out the card and for no other good reason. Alright, this next one comes from JoshNew. Hey Aaron, I don't know about others, but for me that guy Heath Slater can really cut it on the mic. Your thoughts? I agree. He really impressed me on SmackDown with that promo. He showed a lot of intensity and fire that I didn't even know he had. And it just goes to show when guys are given good material, just about anybody can really rise up and deliver. Heath Slater was no exception. He got the ball on SmackDown and he ran with it. He cut this amazing promo. Yeah, there were times where it was hard to take him seriously, especially when he brought up 3MB and Social Outcasts. But I think that if this storyline was executed properly and if the creative team was able to come up with something for Heath Slater on a weekly basis and allow this storyline to progress and develop, I think he could really turn the corner. I think he would have a shot. It's going to take a lot of work to rehab him and give him credibility in the eyes of the casual audience, but it could be done, and Heath Slater could definitely pull it off if he was given the opportunity. He showed that on SmackDown. This one comes from D-Minor88. If you could bring back the Four Horsemen to WWE, who would you put into that stable, including New Japan, Ring of Honor, and NXT? I would not bring back the Four Horsemen. I'm not a big fan of going back to the past and just trying to live off of past storylines and past factions, past gimmicks, whatever. I would like the idea of changing it up a little bit. If you're going to bring back something, at least give it a makeover and take it in a different direction. I'd like to see the Four Horsewomen in WWE. Maybe at some point have Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Bayley form the Four Horsewomen in WWE and have this ultimate female faction, because it's something we haven't seen before. We haven't really seen a dominant female faction like that, and some people might say Team Bella, but please spare me. Four Horsewomen, they could kick some serious ass, and it would be a whole new spin on the Four Horsemen. So it would make sense too, because Charlotte would be the leader of the group, and she's the daughter of Ric Flair. So you'd have a good reason for the group to be called the Four Horsewomen. That's what I would do if I was going to do any kind of horseman or horsewoman type faction. This one comes from Rick. Hey Aaron, how about Samoa Joe being the free agent and tearing it up on both brands until he decides which to sign for? I definitely like that idea for Samoa Joe. Maybe after SummerSlam you do this storyline where both sides are bidding for him and he's no longer affiliated with NXT, and you have Shane trying to win him over, Daniel Bryan trying to win him over, same thing with Stephanie and Mick Foley. I think that would be a great way to introduce him. And really WWE could do that with any number of talents, but I think with Joe, and you're trying to get this brand extension off the ground and build up some drama, I would definitely go with Joe as the guy that both sides really want and they're trying to win him over. Definitely a great opportunity to really establish somebody on the main roster as a major player. Alright, got this one here from Ben. Hey Aaron, when will Kevin Owens be given a run at a major title? He has great skills on the mic and the ring. What's the problem? We all know what the problem is. He's not a Vince McMahon guy. He doesn't have the physique. He doesn't have the look. He's just not the guy that Vince sees as a top-level superstar. He has gotten to the point where he's at in WWE because of just having pure talent. As they say, the cream rises to the top, and Kevin Owens is one of those guys that's just so good at what he does, he's able to rise above and beat all the odds. I think one day he might become world champion, but I don't see him being the number one guy like John Cena, if that's what you're trying to say. But as far as him getting a run, maybe as a heel and having a 6-month run as world champion, I think there's a fairly decent chance of that happening, especially now that we have the brand extension. I could see him, I think he will be world champion one day, either on Raw or SmackDown. I'm calling it. I do think it will happen one of these days. Will it happen 6 months from now? I'm not sure about that, but a year, 2 years down the line, maybe next year he'll win Money in the Bank. I do see it happening at some point. Alright, this one comes from Rob. Do you find Daniel Bryan appearing on this coming Raw as lame as I do? So much for the brand split, focus on the wrestlers. Cesaro called it. Cesaro said that on Raw it would be about the drama between the general managers, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, Raw's a 3-hour show. They got to fill time. They got to build up SummerSlam. I guess it could be worse if it was other wrestlers appearing on Raw, since Daniel Bryan's the general manager. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, and I know they got to build up SummerSlam, and it's not exactly what I would come up with for an idea. I'm not going to get into the whole thing about the brand split again, because so many people got on my case, but to me, it's all right. I wouldn't say it's that lame, but I think they could do better. I think they could have waited a longer period of time before having the general managers interacting on shows. I feel they're hot-shotting it, I guess would be an appropriate term to use. The ratings are still down, and you got SummerSlam coming up, and they're just trying to get something going with the brand extension and just trying to get fans talking about the product. So, I understand why they're doing it, but if it was me, I would have waited longer before having the general managers appearing on the same show or on opposite shows. This one comes from Cheyenne. If AJ Styles feuded with Ambrose for the WWE title, what would be the possible storyline for Randy Orton after SummerSlam? That's a very good question. I would have gone with Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, but they're on separate brands right now. Maybe there'll be a trade. Maybe Cesaro will end up on SmackDown. Randy Orton, I think, will stay a babyface at this point, just because he's at that stage of his career where he's seen as a legend, and it's going to be hard for people to boo him because he's entering that legend status. Maybe Baron Corbin, I could see that happening. I'm trying to think of top heels on SmackDown. Maybe if Dolph Ziggler turns heel, you could have Ziggler versus Orton. Maybe at some point they'll have Ambrose versus Randy Orton. Although, maybe AJ versus Orton. I could see AJ winning the title from Ambrose, and then you do Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. But yeah, in the meantime, of the current guys on SmackDown, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Orton versus Baron Corbin after SummerSlam, while AJ and Ambrose have their program for the title. That's what I'm expecting at this point, unless WWE decides to really go all the way with Dolph Ziggler, and we see a huge upset at SummerSlam, which I'm not expecting at this point, but never say never, I guess. Got this one here from Alex Suggs. If it's true AJ Styles will get a WWE title shot at Backlash, is now the perfect time for him to win to solidify the new era? Definitely. I feel AJ Styles should be the next WWE champion. He should be the guy to beat Ambrose, not Dolph Ziggler. Unless WWE really has something special for Dolph Ziggler, if they turn him heel and he gets red hot again, maybe you could go in a different direction. But I think since this is the new era and you're trying to build up new talent, I think that pushing AJ Styles to the top and having him win the title is the best way to go long term. Dolph Ziggler, as much as he's accomplished over the years, it's just hard to really put him on top when he had his best years 3-4 years ago. There's always a possibility he could have a renewed push and really catch on, but I think you have to invest in the younger talent. I think you have to go with the new guy. And yeah, AJ Styles is almost 40, so he's not young or anything, but he's new in the world of WWE. So I think you have to go with what's new to your casual audience, and that's AJ Styles. Got this one here from Fanatical Ninja. Does Survivor Series still feel like a Big Four pay-per-view? From recent Survivor Series pay-per-views, it feels like a B pay-per-view. Yeah, Survivor Series hasn't been a big deal in many years, in my opinion. they did have some potential to reboot Survivor Series 2 years ago when they did that big storyline with Dolph Ziggler. I mean, that was the time. That was the time to give Dolph Ziggler a renewed push and really hit the reset button on him. And after that, he quickly fizzled out. Dolph Ziggler was the saving grace. Of course, Sting interfered and was a factor, but Dolph Ziggler was the sole survivor and basically got rid of Triple H and Stephanie. But what happened? The Authority came back 2 months later, and Dolph Ziggler just went back into mid-card hell and started doing the super kick and wearing tights like Shawn Michaels, and nobody could take him seriously. So, that's going back to the other question about Dolph Ziggler. But yeah, Survivor Series really needs something special to become a serious pay-per-view again. Maybe Raw versus SmackDown, with a couple months of no interaction between Raw and SmackDown, no general managers appearing on other shows or SmackDown stars appearing on Raw or vice versa. Couple months of no interaction whatsoever, and then for Survivor Series, you set something up. That could be a huge deal. Got this one here from Daniel Lynch. Hey Aaron, do you think SummerSlam is really the second biggest pay-per-view? I never thought that it was. I'd say it's the Royal Rumble. I agree with you 100%. To me, the Royal Rumble is always the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. The Royal Rumble is just a special match, and it only happens once a year, and it kicks off the WrestleMania season. SummerSlam is easily number 3, though. SummerSlam has always been one of the biggest shows of the year, and because there's the gap between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, you have about a 4 or 5 month gap, SummerSlam gets that extra attention drawn to it, and the big matches usually take place at SummerSlam, like Brock Lesnar getting in the ring whenever he does wrestle, and we normally see big title changes at SummerSlam. We saw Daniel Bryan win the title, and Randy Orton turned heel that one year, Brock Lesnar winning the title. We've seen a lot of big things happen at SummerSlam over the years, memorable moments at SummerSlam. With Survivor Series, we haven't really seen much, and when we do see something big, like Sting debuting and Dolph Ziggler being the sole survivor, 2 months later, it all went back to the way it was before. And basically that storyline got watered down because the Authority didn't really go away. They just came back 2 months later. Alright, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend. Spread the word about NoDQ&A video on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media website you go on. Please let fans know about NoDQ.com and NoDQ&A video. I appreciate all the support from you guys. And on that note, I will see you guys next time for more NoDQ&A video.